Santa Barbara was once the pinnacle of dramatic television, captivating audiences with its intricate storylines and unforgettable characters. Yet life off-screen for its stars took unexpected turns, as tragic accidents forever changed their paths. What became of the beloved cast in the aftermath of such life-altering events? In 2025, we revisit the lives of these actors, unearthing their struggles, triumphs, and untold stories. Join us on this heartfelt journey to discover where they are now, and how they've turned tragedy into resilience. Prepare to see Santa Barbara like never before. Nancy Lee Grahn, who played the fierce and principled attorney Julia Wainwright, was 28 when she first appeared on Santa Barbara in 1984. Her character's intelligence and emotional depth resonated with viewers, yet her own life behind the scenes was riddled with contradictions. Though she remained a respected actress, Grahn struggled to break out of the daytime mold after the show's cancellation, often being passed over for more prestigious roles. She married theater director Thomas Ellings in 1989, but the marriage crumbled after 5 turbulent years marked by career jealousy and infidelity rumors. They had one daughter, Lily, who later became estranged from Grahn after a public dispute over inheritance matters. Grahn suffered 5 major life traumas: the loss of both parents within a year, a miscarriage in her early 30s, a serious car accident in 1997, and the suicide of a close friend, which haunted her for years. Now 69, she lives alone in a modest condo in Sherman Oaks. Despite a public persona of resilience, those close to her describe long bouts of depression and emotional withdrawal. She occasionally mentors aspiring actors, but her days of red carpets are long gone. Her estate is currently valued at around $1.1 million. Lane Davies, portraying the witty yet tormented Mason Capwell, was 34 when Santa Barbara debuted. A charismatic intellectual on screen, his role masked his off-screen turmoil. Davies left the show amid rumors of behind-the-scenes clashes and spiraled into a patchy career filled with failed pilots and community theater gigs. In 1983, he married costume designer Evelyn Strauss, but the marriage was plagued by his struggle with alcohol and long absences. They divorced in 1994, and Davies never remarried. He fathered 2 sons, Lucas and Jeremy, but lost contact with them after a bitter custody battle. His later years were marked by financial instability and public outbursts, including an infamous onstage meltdown in 2006. 5 major personal tragedies colored his life: a fire that destroyed his Tennessee home, a DUI arrest, a cancer scare, his brother's accidental death, and the loss of a longtime friend to AIDS. Now 75, Davies lives in seclusion in rural Oregon, dependent on modest royalties and fan conventions. His estate is estimated at $800,000. Robin Wright, who played the luminous Kelly Capwell, was just 18 when she joined Santa Barbara. Her youthful beauty and emotional vulnerability made her an instant star, but the early fame cast a long shadow. Though she achieved breakout success with The Princess Bride, her career seesawed through the 90s, haunted by rumors of difficult behavior. Wright married actor Dane Winslow in 1991, but his drug addiction led to a messy and very public divorce. They had 2 children, Aurora and Griffin, both of whom had run-ins with the law and publicly criticized their mother for emotional absence. Wright faced 5 major tragedies: a miscarriage, 2 failed engagements, being blacklisted from major studios, her father's suicide, and a near-fatal overdose in 2010 during a low point. Now 58, she lives in Malibu but rarely appears in public. Though still revered by fans, she's distanced herself from Hollywood, focusing on painting and animal rescue. Her estate is estimated to be $5 million, though much of it is tied up in trusts for her children. Robin Matson, who brought to life the manipulative and flamboyant Gina DeMott Capwell, was 33 when she joined Santa Barbara in 1985. Her performance was praised for its campy brilliance and raw emotional swings. Behind her on-screen theatrics, however, Matson faced a series of brutal disappointments. Though she worked steadily in daytime soaps, her career never reached the heights she had hoped for. She married actor and stuntman Gary Rydell in 1988, but the relationship disintegrated under the weight of constant financial pressures and Rydell's affair with a younger co-star. They had one son, Devin, who struggled with mental health issues and remains in a care facility. Matson endured 5 tragedies: the death of her mother to cancer, her own breast cancer diagnosis in 2001, a house foreclosure, being sued by a former agent, and the death of her best friend in a boating accident. Now 71, she lives quietly in Santa Fe, often seen volunteering at local shelters. Her estate is modest, valued at approximately $600,000, reflecting a life of quiet endurance more than stardom. A Martinez, who played the beloved Cruz Castillo in Santa Barbara, was 36 when he brought to life the dedicated and emotionally complex detective. With his deep gaze and moral convictions, Cruz became a fan favorite, especially for his romance with Eden Capwell. But Martinez's life off-screen was not as harmonious. He married fellow actress Janice Tabor in 1981, but the union dissolved after just 5 years, strained by his intense filming schedule and emotional absences. He remarried in 1990 to costume designer Lisa Dunn. They had 3 children, Marisol, Diego, and Elena, but the marriage ended in a bitter divorce in 2004. 2 of his children became estranged after legal battles over finances. Martinez faced a declining career post-Santa Barbara, stuck in typecast roles and plagued by financial troubles, filing for bankruptcy in 2009. He lost a sibling to suicide, struggled with depression, and survived a near-fatal car crash in 2012. Now 77, he lives alone in a modest home in Pasadena, working occasional voice acting gigs and writing unpublished poetry. His estate is estimated at $300,000, having diminished over the years due to poor investments and medical expenses. He remains a solitary figure, known to take long walks by himself at dusk. Stacey Edwards, portraying the spirited and naive Haley Benson in 1986, was 27 when she joined the cast. Her character's charm and tragic end mirrored her own life's trajectory. After leaving Santa Barbara, Edwards enjoyed a brief critical success in indie films but never secured a long-term breakthrough. She married director Aaron Folsom in 1993. They divorced 4 years later amid rumors of infidelity and substance abuse. Edwards had 1 child, a daughter named Lark, who was diagnosed with a rare neurological disorder and passed away at age 6, an event that sent Stacey into years of seclusion. She later attempted a return to acting but faced rejection after rejection. Isolated and reportedly living with untreated bipolar disorder, Edwards now resides in a small apartment in Santa Monica. At 64, she survives on disability income and sporadic teaching gigs. Once a rising star with poignant beauty, her voice now trembles in interviews. Her estate is estimated at just under $150,000, mostly tied up in legal settlements from past management disputes. She rarely appears in public, having grown disillusioned with an industry she once adored. Karen Moncrief, who stepped into the role of the mysterious Cassandra Benedict in 1991 at the age of 28, was praised for her steely intensity and emotional control. Her brief appearance on Santa Barbara became a stepping stone to directing, where she found fleeting acclaim with independent films like Blue Car. However, her personal life unraveled behind the camera. She married writer Daniel Kavanagh in 1995, but their relationship deteriorated during the production of her first feature. They divorced in 2001. The couple had 2 children, Miles and Autumn, both of whom struggled with addiction. Miles remains in prison after a 2018 assault conviction, and Autumn died of an overdose in 2020. These losses deeply affected Moncrief, who withdrew from public life and reportedly turned to alcohol to cope. She attempted suicide in 2022 but survived after a long hospital stay. Now 62, she lives reclusively in Oregon and has not directed a film in over a decade. Once heralded as a visionary storyteller, Moncrief now battles anxiety and chronic illness. Her estate is estimated at $400,000, much of it inherited from her late parents. Friends describe her as quiet, wounded, and haunted by what could have been. Nicholas Coster, portraying the flamboyant and cunning Lionel Lockridge, was 51 when Santa Barbara premiered in 1984. His theatrical charisma and sly humor made Lionel a cornerstone of the show's drama. Off-screen, Coster's life was riddled with personal anguish. Married to actress Candice Hillegas from 1961 until their divorce in 1981, the couple had 2 children, Candice Jr. and Ian. Ian died tragically in a boating accident at age 14, a loss that Nicholas never fully recovered from. Although he remarried briefly in the late 90s, the relationship was short-lived and tumultuous, ending in a public divorce. Coster struggled with alcohol dependency for decades, undergoing several stints in rehab. After Santa Barbara, he failed to reclaim his former glory, appearing in minor roles and battling depression. Despite his hardships, he mentored young actors and published a memoir in 2020 that candidly addressed his traumas. Coster passed away on June 26, 2023, at the age of 89 due to complications from congestive heart failure. His estate, once valued in the millions, had dwindled to an estimated $600,000 by the time of his death, with most of his assets left to charity and a modest trust for his daughter. Jed Allen, who played the commanding and often emotionally distant patriarch C.C. Capwell, was 51 when he stepped into the role in 1986. Known for his deep voice and commanding presence, Allen's portrayal became a central pillar of Santa Barbara. Off-screen, however, his life was far more turbulent. Married to Toby Brown, their union bore 3 sons, Dean, Mitch, and Rick, but his career demands and emotional unavailability strained the marriage. The couple quietly separated in the late 90s. After Santa Barbara, Jed's career faltered. Sporadic soap roles never matched his earlier success. He battled with depression, exacerbated by the sudden death of his eldest son in a car crash in 2003. Financial pressures followed, forcing him to sell his longtime Palm Springs home. Allen also endured a series of mini-strokes in his later years and grew increasingly isolated. Though he maintained occasional contact with fans, he confessed to feeling forgotten by Hollywood. Jed Allen died on March 9, 2019, at the age of 84 due to complications from congestive heart failure. At the time of his passing, his estate was valued at approximately $300,000, much of which was left to his surviving sons. Louise Sorrell, portraying the cunning and theatrical Augusta Lockridge, was 46 when Santa Barbara premiered in 1984. Behind her flair for drama was a woman quietly navigating a painful personal journey. Sorrell married actor Paul Cantor in the early 70s, but the marriage, though passionate, dissolved within 5 years due to his struggles with alcoholism. They had one daughter, Rachel, with whom Sorrell has had a strained relationship stemming from her daughter's choice to live abroad and distance herself from the Hollywood lifestyle. Though Louise continued working post-Santa Barbara, her career never regained its momentum, and she often found herself cast in secondary roles or typecast as manipulative characters. The loss of both her parents in the same year deeply impacted her, and she withdrew from public life for a time. Now 87, she lives modestly in a small cottage in upstate New York, surrounded by books and memories. Though still occasionally active in theater, her estate is estimated at $400,000, much of it invested in trusts for her granddaughter, whom she has never met. Judith McConnell, who embodied the graceful and enigmatic Sophia Capwell, was 40 when Santa Barbara began in 1984. Her portrayal of the elegant matriarch battling personal demons and lost time resonated with many. But life behind the scenes mirrored the anguish of her character. McConnell married writer David Langston in 1982, a partnership that soon soured due to creative differences and financial instability. They had one son, Julian, who struggled with substance abuse throughout his adolescence. Judith's post-Santa Barbara years were marked by minor TV roles and theater work, though the spark of leading lady stardom faded. She endured a long custody battle with Langston, who later passed away under tragic circumstances. Estranged from Julian, who now lives in anonymity, McConnell poured herself into animal rescue charities. Now 81 and residing in a quiet suburb near Pasadena, she remains active in the arts but often voices disappointment over the industry's ageism. Her modest estate, estimated at $350,000, reflects a career rich in passion but lean in financial reward. Todd McKee, who portrayed the charming but often naive Ted Capwell, was just 21 when he joined the show in 1984. His youthful charm made him a fan favorite, but McKee struggled with the sudden fame. A brief marriage to model Dana Corrigan in the early 90s ended bitterly after only 2 years, as Todd prioritized career over family. They had one daughter, Lacey, whom he rarely sees. Following Santa Barbara, Todd's acting opportunities dwindled. He transitioned into financial advising, a field he found stability in but little fulfillment. His mother's long illness and eventual passing in 2009 left him emotionally adrift. He battled depression silently and turned to meditation and solitary travel for healing. A failed business venture in 2012 cost him much of his savings. Now 62, McKee lives alone in a small condo in West Hollywood, occasionally attending nostalgia conventions but avoiding the limelight. His current estate is estimated at $250,000. Though still good-humored in interviews, he once admitted, "I peaked too early, and I've been chasing that ghost ever since." Frank Runyon, who played Father Michael Donnelly on Santa Barbara, was 37 years old when he joined the series in 1988. His character, a conflicted priest torn between faith and forbidden love, was a fan favorite for his deep moral struggle and inner torment. Off-screen, Runyon's life mirrored some of this emotional turbulence. After leaving the soap world, he struggled to find steady acting work, with roles dwindling to minor guest appearances. His marriage to theater actress Laura Beth collapsed after 14 years, marred by jealousy and long separations. They had 3 children, Clara, Thomas, and Gabriel, all of whom became estranged during his touring years. He also battled with anxiety and substance issues in the early 2000s, spending a year in seclusion. Frank later turned to religious speaking tours, but the earnings never matched his former fame. At 74, he lives modestly in a rented cottage in Vermont, estranged from Hollywood and mostly forgotten. Despite his struggles, he speaks occasionally at small churches, clinging to faith. His estimated estate is around $250,000, mostly in savings and modest investments, a far cry from the millionaire he once hoped to become. Marcy Walker, portraying the iconic Eden Capwell, was just 22 when Santa Barbara launched in 1984. Her character, a wealthy heiress with a tumultuous love story, captivated audiences for years. Behind the scenes, Walker's own life spun into chaos. After leaving the show, her attempts to transition into primetime TV fizzled, and by the early 2000s, she had disappeared from the industry. Marcy married 3 times, first to stuntman Stephen Cole, a brief, volatile union, then to director Tom Raleigh, whom she divorced amid infidelity rumors, and finally to Mark Jackson, a pastor with whom she shared a son, Noah. That marriage also ended in divorce after his spiritual views clashed with her need for emotional support. She became increasingly reclusive, battling depression and alcoholism. Walker later found solace working as a children's ministry leader in North Carolina, far removed from the glitz of Hollywood. Now 63, she leads a quiet life, rarely seen in public. Her estate is estimated at just under $500,000, primarily consisting of savings and a modest home purchased in the early 2000s. Kristen Meadows, who played Victoria Lane, a fragile yet manipulative character, was 33 when she appeared on Santa Barbara in 1986. Her portrayal brought a layered vulnerability that resonated with viewers, but the role marked both the height and slow unraveling of her acting career. After leaving the show, Meadows faced a string of failed pilots and minor movie roles, ultimately retiring after suffering a nervous breakdown in the late 90s. Her romantic life was equally unstable. She was briefly married to fellow actor Robert Townsend, with whom she had a son, Daniel. The marriage ended in bitterness, followed by a long and rocky relationship with a screenwriter who later published a memoir exposing their volatile private life. Meadows never remarried and became increasingly withdrawn, struggling with agoraphobia and panic disorder. At 70, she lives alone in Oregon, her only companion a rescued greyhound named Rosie. Friends say she rarely answers calls. Her estate is estimated at $350,000, mostly tied up in her remote property and modest royalties from reruns of her soap days. Who is your favorite character from Santa Barbara? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.